Welcome to TAOGYOW, or as I like to say, the art of going your own way. Prepare yourself and listen. Ready? Begin.
Lesson 4. We're going to get the primer out of the way first. Most people will reject these things until they're ready to learn them. The sooner you understand that the world owes you nothing, the sooner you'll start seeing results. On the flip side of the coin, the world is trying to take from you every chance it gets. These things that we speak of aren't really in any order of importance because they're all important. So today, this leads us to politics and religion, both of which have been around since the dawn of time, meant to control. It's going to be your choice on what path you're going to follow in life, be it with politics and religion, and they're almost interchangeable. If you look at a certain group of people these days, their political faction is a religion. It's actually on both sides, for God's sakes. And with regards to religion, keeping you under control because of some father figure in the sky who's going to come down and impose punitive measures against you for ogling a woman, for coveting something, whatever it is. I mean, let's face it, we need these things in society to kind of give us boundaries, and I understand that. But where it goes too far is when it actually imposes so many limits on you that you can't move, you can't grow. So free your mind, gentlemen, and in turn, that'll free your body to be able to do certain things as well. So I was born and raised with certain belief systems, and as I grew older, I started to ask why I believed in what I believe. Where and who did I learn these things from, and where the motives behind those teachings, and how did they affect my life, my choices, my outlook? Was this causing me to have a life filled with love or fear? Was it controlling me and steering me in a direction that had already been decided for me? I'm sure these types of questions we will all eventually be asking ourselves. When you start asking questions like these, there are many roads which you can go down, and that's why it's called a journey, be it spiritual or other. I don't know if I have any words of wisdom on this particular aspect other than to think about your beliefs, and that if you choose to impose your will on another, be prepared to have another's will imposed upon you. What have I been saying in the previous lessons? You need to stop, you need to think, you need to meditate, and then you need to act, move, decide, whatever it is. If somebody's trying to impose their will upon you, that means that you lose freedoms, especially if you capitulate to them. So, use discernment. Lesson 1, common sense. Lesson 1, avoid being entangled in other things, other movements, because all they're seeking from you is your power and your resources to implement their will. That's going to sidetrack a little bit to a different subject. This subject is a social subject. Really, it's for you. It's called manners. Manners are often overlooked. Saying please and thank you are a must in a world that rarely sees it anymore. This will make you stand out as someone who is courteous and truly cares. Just so you don't misunderstand, manners are a courtesy you grant yourself and not to others. They are not to be expected, but only offered. When you set an example by using manners, it shows that you have integrity and respect for yourself and others. So the thing about manners again is, in a world that has gone wild, that that you don't see openness, happiness too much when you're in the thick of it. It's on you to create what your world's going to be. So offer that, extend it. But, like in Lesson 1, with integrity, you got to know when to not use it. Because if somebody's coming up to you and giving you a hard time and beating you down, you don't want to say, hey, okay, you're not following social etiquette, because at that point in time, it really doesn't matter. That brings us to another sidetrack, and that's communication. I'm sure you guys are all seeing how these are fitting in, but just touching on these keys and having maybe a different perspective, I'm sure you guys know a lot of these and how they interact with your life. But to actually take time to think about them and meditate on them and put them into practice, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm putting out these lessons, to make you a better person. Not for society as a whole, but for yourself. So communication. This is often overlooked, but it's very important. Learning to be concise on your thoughts and articulating them effectively is always somewhat of a challenge for most people. You can hear it in my voice when I'm talking to you guys right now. When you're able to successfully master communication, things start falling in place. Everyone involved knows where they stand, and it's much easier to move forward to the next thing. Where there is a lack of communication, there is no personal growth or no growth in the group. When in a conversation, eye contact is very important. Even if you find the topic of conversation dull or inconsequential, you should still give your undivided attention and then steer the topic into something that is not a one-sided event. When writing any kind of correspondence, grammar and spelling are very important. The old saying, it's better to keep your mouth shut and have people think you are a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt, is also true when writing. Before sending a written correspondence off, take time to read over at least twice and look for any wording, grammar, or spelling issues. Remember that there's no inflection of being playful, hints of sarcasm or humor. It's just all literal text. So understand that it can be easily misinterpreted. That's the hardest thing about communicating with other people. You have body language, you have inflection, you have how you're feeling. These things all get portrayed when you're in physical communication with other people. Those things don't get portrayed when you're writing. So be concise. Try to reread and go, how's this going to be interpreted? Do I want it to go out like this? It'll save you a lot of pain and heartache in the future of having to deal with messy situations that were created. This is going to bring me to the last topic of this video, and that is asking. What is asking? You know what it is, but I'm just going to say a few words on it. If you don't ask, you won't get. Don't wait for someone's generosity. If you want it, work for it or ask for it. This doesn't mean that you'll get it, but at least your intentions will be known and may move you to a higher level of consideration from the powers that be. By default, people are wired negatively. And as you know, when something good happens to you, you'll typically tell one or two people. But if something bad happens, you'll tend to tell everyone you meet. So, ask for things. It's an art. Most people won't ask for help. Men, we've been conditioned to not ask for help, to stand on our own 2 feet, to not be weak. But I tell you, it's in the approach when you ask. If you need help, ask for help. Don't be whiny about it. Don't expect it, but be gracious when you get it. This is going to end today's lesson. Thank you. And remember, there's an art to going your own way. I might not be right in everything I'm telling you guys, but when I've put these things into practice, my life has turned around, and it's going better places every day. The farther I move away from the bad situations that were created in my life by just stumbling around in it without having foundation. Now, mind you, I've had foundation of the religious impositions put on me, just societal expectations, those things. But when you can go and have the foundation that you make and keep moving in a direction that you want to go, it works. These things, take them, adjust them, use them, don't use them. We're just having a conversation today. Again, to repeat myself, there is an art to going your own way. Have a good day, gentlemen.